It's just been a very exciting journey just to like get into books and be that reader that I've always wanted to be. A little recap, when I was younger, I had a really hard time comprehending things when I read, and I would just read really slow. So I thought I was bad at reading and it just wasn't my thing. I always wanted to be a reader. I just thought I was terrible at it. But this past summer, I went on a trip with my best friend, and her family is just super into reading. We started talking about reading and stuff, and they were recommending all these books to me, and I made this long list on my phone, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to really get into this. So today we are talking books that I loved in 2020, that I'm reading now in 2021, and that I want to read in the future. So the book that I read over the summer was called The Lies They Tell, and it was by Gillian French.
You guys, I just said Gillian French. It's definitely Gillian French.
This book was so good. So basically it's about this girl, and she's a daughter of this one security guard at this rich house, and while he was watching the house set on fire and the occupants died except for the oldest son. Everybody kind of not said that it was her dad's fault, but shunned him because they didn't think he was watching the house good enough, and it was his fault that they died in the fire. But the daughter did not believe anything that those people were saying. She basically goes out to solve the mystery and figure out what actually happened to clear up her dad's name. And I mean, the plot twist at the end blew my mind, but I thought it was a great mystery. The next book that I read was Catching Fires by Susan Collins. This book is fantastic. If you haven't heard of the Hunger Games series, I don't know how you haven't, but this is a huge deal when I was in middle school. They're just such captivating books. It was really entertaining. I didn't want to put it down. I'm very happy I read it, and I can't wait to read the third book. The next book that I started to read was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I haven't finished it yet. It was written in the 1800s, so it's definitely more sophisticated, the dialogue. So it's a little slower read, at least for me to get through. And it's kind of like one of those books that I'm reading other books while I'm reading this one and kind of like jumping back and forth. It's basically about 4 girls in the 1800s. They're all sisters with their mom, and it just breaks down stories of their childhood to their adult life, I believe. I haven't gotten that far right now. It's just in their childhood right now. Each have like a different relationship with their neighbor next door. They just go through life in the 1800s as young women. It's super interesting. I don't know if that was the best description of it, if that sounds interesting to you, but I watched the movie, the new one. It was fantastic, and that's actually what inspired me to read the book. So it's a really good book, and there's a lot of good morals in the stories. It's cool to see like the sisters have such different personalities and how they just grow together. It's definitely something I would recommend reading. It's a classic, and I think that everybody should give it a try. Then the next book I read was A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks is a great author, first of all, and I saw the movie before I read this book. This is a book about a young girl named Jamie. Her father's a minister at the Baptist church in town. She's kind of like a character that you fall in love with. She's just so pure of heart and so kind. Her like Christian values definitely shine through in the book. And Landon Carter, who is like cooler guy, he gets involved in the school play. He gets to know Jamie, and the story goes, and they fall in love. But there is a interesting ending to this book that will make you cry. The movie makes me sob, but it's a really beautiful love story about kind of how Jamie softens Landon's heart, and it's such a good book. So I recommend this for like a nice, easy, warm, like feel good read, but the ending is sad. And one more book that I read was not even a book, but it was a script, and I got it for Christmas. I love theater, I love musicals, but I've never read a script other than being in a show just for the pleasure of reading it. So it's Into the Woods. This was a really good read, and I watched the movie before I read this book. All these people who like hate watching movies before they read books are gonna attack me. I listened to the songs while I was reading it, which was really cool and kind of just like engrossed me in the experience. So some of the songs I did have to listen to the Broadway version because it's the Broadway script. It was a very fun read. Now the books that I am reading right now are, and I do like to read multiple books at a time. So I am reading Little Women right now. I'm also reading this book by Sadie Robertson. She has a few books, and she for me as a young Christian girl is just so inspirational. I listen to her podcast and she's just a great person to learn from. I'm only a few chapters in, but I like the way that she writes. It's simple, but it's also sophisticated, and it definitely is helpful. This book is basically teaching you how to truly live through God. On the back of the book, it says, through inspirational stories and photographs, Sadie embraces the adventures of life and walks side by side with readers on the following topics: how to replace temporary highs with the promises of God, how to dream big and follow your passion, how to celebrate every moment of your life, how to live in the moment, and how to keep going until your story gets good. I think this is a great story for young people to read, especially like going to college and figuring out what you're trying to do with life and careers and everything going on. You can just really get caught up in everything and not be living in the moment. And I just think that this book is a great way to find some perspective and just truly live your best life through God and feel that joy that He gives you. So, good book. I'm excited to keep going with this. I'm really enjoying it. The book that I'm reading right now is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I actually just sat down to read this yesterday and I finished the first chapter, and the chapters are kind of long. The way Tolkien writes is very captivating. Like, you want to know what's happening next. Basically, it's about a hobbit who goes on this quest to destroy a ring that has evil magic in it. It's a great adventure story. Definitely keep you guys updated and let you know how this book is.
Guys, I'm a few chapters in and this book is fantastic. I definitely recommend reading it.
But so far it's been really good and I think it's going to be a great read. The books that I want to read in the future are obviously the third book of the Hunger Games trilogy. I've been waiting to watch the third movie to read this book, so I'm so excited for that. Another book that I want to read that I don't have with me is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. My dad read it and he loved it, and it's basically the story of Matthew McConaughey's life and his journey. I do want to read that in the future. The next book that I want to read is Pride and Prejudice, also set in the 1800s, which, like I said, I do really like reading that style, and the 1800s to me is very, very fascinating. This is a classic, so it's just like one of those I really want to read, and I've never read anything by Jane Austen, so I am excited to dive into that. The last book is A Death of No Importance. This book I actually found at the dollar store. Sometimes I just like shopping for books. I don't know if anybody else feels me on that, but I have a million books on my list, and a lot of them I have access to either on my Kindle or a physical copy, and yeah, I still just want to keep buying books to read. So I was looking at the dollar store. I saw that they had books there and I was like, why not just look? And I looked up some reviews, and A Death of No Importance actually sounded really good, so I'm kind of curious because it was at the dollar store to see if it's actually good. So I'll let you know how this one is. I'm excited to read it.
I'm going to post right here what my book list is on my phone of all the books that I want to read, and there's little checks next to the ones that I have, but it is a long list, and this list was actually formulated when I was in Virginia and I started getting into reading because of my best friend's family. So there's a lot of books on there.
I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I want to hear all of your book suggestions, so definitely put them in the comments below. I'm so happy that I got to share with you guys the different books I'm reading, and if you were like me and weren't into reading, just try to find a good book that you think you would like. My dad always told me that there would be one book that I read and it would just like hook me on reading, and so I definitely think that is great advice and it's definitely true. So try to find a book that you think's interesting. Who knows, maybe reading could be your thing. So I'm definitely happy that I've gotten more into reading and I can't wait to continue reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I will see you guys next Thursday with a brand new video.